Kata for the sound of the bell. Mind calm, body at ease, breathing quiet, sentiment benevolent. Dharma friends, sitting still in vital silence, wanting nothing, we practice eco-Buddhism together. The sound of the temple bell booms for all to cease from conflict. May the way of Buddha usher in the dawn of non-violent global village forever. Here is the after sound of the bell. Thunder of silence, light after Dharma rain. Om Amoga Vairochana Mahamudra Mani Padme Jvala Pravartaya Hum.
Please stand and join me in chanting of the three refuges. So facing the altar, please feel your feet connected to the earth beneath you. Breathe. And then join me in taking refuge in Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, first in Sino-Korean and then in English. Throw your voice in as best you can. I go for refuge to the Buddha
I go for refuge to the Buddha
and resolve with all beings
and resolve with all beings.
I will penetrate.
I will cultivate a heart of enlightenment
I will cultivate a heart of enlightenment
and realize the great way.
and realize the great way.
I go for refuge to the Dharma
I go for refuge to the Dharma
and resolve with all beings
and resolve with all beings.
I will penetrate the teachings
I will penetrate the teachings
and uncover oceans of wisdom.
and uncover oceans of wisdom.
I go for refuge to the Sangha
I go for refuge to the Sangha
and resolve with all beings
and resolve with all beings.
I will seek peace and happiness for the many
I will seek peace and happiness for the many
and transform this world into Buddha lands unimpeded.
and transform this world into Buddha lands unimpeded.
Now, if you would remain standing for just a few minutes more while I read dedication of merit, dedication to our ancestors. On this 22nd day of March 2025, we acknowledge that this land where our temple buildings stand has been the home of native peoples, the Potawatomi, the Odawa, and the Ojibwe, the Council of the Three Fire Tribes, and also of Black Americans. We know that this neighborhood used to be a historically Black neighborhood during times of racial segregation and oppression. For our own awakening and for the awakening of all life, may the benevolent energies of our meditation, chanting, and full presence here at this service this morning extend to all beings in this planet and throughout time and space. May there be deepening of our interbeing. May peace prevail and wars cease. And now let's make 3 bows to the altar. Please return to your places for a brief period of meditation. Please join me in some stretching. Massaging our face, placing our palms over our eyeballs, breathing, and then massaging our skull on the top from the front to the back. Pulling on the earlobes, pressure points exist here. And then taking a nice deep breath Leaning forward on your hands to stretch your lower back. Clasping the hands and bringing them high over your head. Leaning all the way forward, extending your arms. Bringing your arms over your head. Now folding, stretching to the left. Shifting your body so you're stretching to the right. Clasping your hands behind your back, leaning forward. And then sitting up, leaving your hands still clasped. Let's do a spinal twist to the left, looking as far over your left shoulder as you can. Then a spinal twist to the right. Placing your fists at the base of your trunk, let's do some big circles of the upper body. Reverse directions. Grasping your left ribs with your right hand. Bring your left arm over your head and lean toward the right. Sitting up straight and repeating this motion. Left hand over right ribs, leaning to the left. Clasping the hands behind your head. We'll do some sharp outward breaths, bringing the elbows together. Twist to the left, to the right. Bringing the arms over the head, reaching toward the sky, and then we'll drop the arms and abdominal breathing. Okay, how is the sound? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. So good morning, dear Dharma friends. It's nice to see you. My name is Ma Oom. I'm one of the temple priests, and I live in the historic temple, the yellow building next door. So we do a rotation at these Sunday morning services of who's giving the Dharma talk, so that you get to hear lots of different perspectives. Today, by luck of the draw, you get to hear from me. And what I would like to talk about is the topic of judgment. So a lot of our Buddhist practice is cultivating non-judgment. We try to do that. So why? Because judgment is associated with suffering. And suffering in many forms, as you know. It's like when people judge us, we feel pain. When we judge others, we create a different type of pain. Sometimes we judge ourselves, and that also can lead to this sense of pain. So suffering, as you know, it's one of the Four Noble Truths. Suffering exists, but we also acknowledge we're the cause of our own suffering. And judgment is one of the ways that we do that. So I'll start with an example, and then we'll explore the various textures, perhaps, of judgment. So very recently, I was in a meeting, and we were talking about the future of the temple. As many of you know, and as you can see just by looking at us, Haju and I are getting older, and we have to start thinking about passing on leadership to other people. Well, during this meeting, we were talking about what concerns or worries us about the future. And out of my mouth, I hear coming these words, "Who will do the shit work?" Kind of a judgmental thing to say, right? So, especially since work is one of the key values of Zen practice. Many of you come here for together action and things, and we work together doing lots of stuff. So this judgment coming out of my mouth was based on some fear, the fear that those of us who live at the temple, we do lots of things behind the scenes, and nobody knows what they are. And you know, things like who cares for all the mats and cushions, who cleans the toilets, who gets the toilet paper, all these things that are necessary for running a household. Well, sometimes when I'm tired, especially, my mind goes to, well, it's not only do the others not see this, but they don't care about it. They don't want to do it. And so then it turns into this statement of who's going to do the shit work? Okay, not very accurate. Really, most judgments are not accurate. Because when you ask them, so most certainly they're willing to do those things. They just don't know about it, or maybe we're waiting to be asked. So that's one example of how I created some suffering. I was reading a story about a teenage girl who had gone to this workshop, and the facilitator of the workshop, they were talking about judgment, and the facilitator asked these teenagers to go away and count the number of judgments that they made in a month. And this girl came back and she said, 1,216 judgments in a month. Judgments of self, judgments of others, judgments of circumstances. So you can see it's quite prevalent. I don't know, I've never tried to count the number of judgments in a day, but it probably would be pretty high. And, but at least I'm becoming more aware of the judgments. And then when somebody, for example, says to me, you're just talking about an idea of who I am rather than seeing me for who I am. That's obviously a judgment. Something to recognize about judgments is they're pretty deeply embedded. It's all of our past habits, our conditioning, our life experiences, pretty subtle. And oftentimes we don't even recognize the judgments until somebody points them out to us. So one teacher called this judging mind sort of ongoing chatter, which I think is true. I have a very chattering mind. I don't know about you. And judgment, pretty wide ranging, as we've alluded to. So judge others, judge myself, judge circumstances. And it usually involves some type of comparison hidden away in there. So either I'm better than they are, they're better than I am, or things like, I should have figured this out by now. All these kinds of things come up. I read an article in Tricycle by this gentleman. His name is by the name of Stephen Fortunato. And he is actually a trial judge in Rhode Island. And he's a Buddhist as well. So I thought, well, this person must have some interesting things to say about judgment. And so the article starts as, whatever our ability to live in the present when off our mats and cushions, the circumstances of daily life often compel us to make judgments. This is something I do regularly as a trial judge in a court of general jurisdiction, a court that deals with serious felonies as well as civil disputes. It is with some irony that I carry the title of judge while taking refuge in a tradition that has as a central tenet the cultivation of a non-judgmental mind. So this person has the title of judge, but if you think about it, all of us get thrown into that world of being a judge. How many of you are parents? Any of you? Okay, so parents have to make a lot of judgments. How many of you maybe are in a leadership position at work, something like that? Okay, some of us are in that category. There are all sorts of reasons. How many of you associate with people? All of us, okay? So all of us from time to time have to make judgments. So when we're in this role of rendering judgment, what Stephen has to say to us is that he harmonizes the act of judging with mindfulness. So this requires careful attentiveness to thoughts and emotions, being grounded in the present moment. So before entering the courtroom, he takes time to do breathing in, breathing out, letting go of any distracting thoughts. In the courtroom, cultivates don't know mind. He has to listen with openness to statements from litigants, witnesses, and attorneys. And in this listening practice, monitors his posture, his breath, is overall state of relaxation or tension. He says an empty and attentive mind allows the best opportunity for understanding conflicting versions of events. As a decision maker, when he renders a sentence, he acknowledges that he does not always know what the optimum solution is, but often the contending parties do. So there needs to be an opportunity for them to speak directly to one another and to the decision maker, who brings an open and clear mind. So I think you can relate to some of that when you're placed in the position of rendering judgment, acting as a judge. So another teacher by the name of Diana Winston from the Insight Meditation Society talks about ways of working with judgment, observing judgment. So she says, just notice the judgment. Observe what it feels like in the body. So I have been trying to do this lately. Because we have meditation practice, all of us are here trying to do the meditation practice. That's a good opportunity to work with the body. The judgments don't stop just because I'm sitting in meditation. And so when the judgments arise, it's a chance to turn the attention to what's going on in the body. And so one of the things I've noticed is I can feel my heart beat. My heart's beating up. My face becomes tense. I can feel tension in my thighs. That's where I carry a lot of tension. And so my body at that point is engaged in some suffering too. So what do I do with that? It's a matter of bodily trying to let go of some of this. But that's challenging because I can't say, you shouldn't be judging, you shouldn't be feeling these tensions. That doesn't work.
That's a judgment.
That's a judgment. But on the other hand, just sort of breathing and letting go seems to help. So that's one strategy. Second strategy that Diana offers us is recognize that judgments are just thoughts. They come and go. Like our meditation practice, sitting still, we visualize that we're mountains, and thoughts are like clouds passing by. So the clouds are not interfering with the mountains. The mountain does not interfere with the clouds. So just know that these judgments are thoughts. They're impermanent, they pass by. Third suggestion, don't take it so seriously. I mean, maybe it's fun to do this counting of judgments. So you can come up with, to me, that sounds like an appealing idea. So I can put this imaginary number on the wall. But don't take it so seriously. Don't get caught in guilt traps. Feeling guilty about judging is not helpful. And then her last suggestion is to practice acceptance of yourself and others. Okay, some other wisdom that may help us as we think about this topic is the 8 winds, praise and blame. So we have these circumstances that arise in our lives that can pull us about just like the wind. So praise and blame being one of them. And here's some thoughts about praise and blame from the Buddha in the Dhammapada. Listen, Arula, this is not new. There's an old saying, they blame you for being silent. They blame you when you talk too much and when you talk too little. Whatever you do, they blame you. The world always finds a way to praise and a way to blame. It always has and it always will. But who dares blame the one whom the wise continually praise, whose life is virtuous and wise, who shines like a coin of pure gold. So that's saying, I think, just come back to the practice. Just continue to follow these Buddhist guidelines that we have been given and not try to get hung up in these circumstances that arise. And then one more piece of wisdom. This week from the Dhammapada, we read the Dhammapada, which is sayings of the Buddha every morning at breakfast. And our chapter this week is called The Wise One, the Wise Man. I will read it and suspend my judgment of the use of words man and woman. Okay. So the wise man. The wise man tells you where you have fallen and where you yet may fall. Invaluable secrets. Follow him, follow the way. Let him chasten and teach you and keep you from mischief. The world may hate him, but good men love him. Do not look for bad company or live with men who do not care. Find friends who love the truth. Drink deeply, live in serenity and joy. The wise man delights in the truth and follows the law of the awakened. The farmer channels water to his land. The fletcher whittles his arrows, and the carpenter turns his wood. So the wise man directs his mind. So in particular, what resonates with me about, there's a lot in here, but in particular, what's resonating with me this morning is find friends who love the truth. So as we work with judgment, it's really important to have wise friends who can help us think through these statements that we're making, and to sort of brush away the clouds of ignorance, the clouds of delusion that we operate under. So I am going to now turn it over to you. I've been giving you a few things to chew on, and I'm very interested in hearing your thoughts about what is your experience of judgment in your life? How does it cause you to suffer? And how do you work with it? Okay, may I have a microphone passer, please? Thank you, Tracy.
I will use this opportunity as microphone passer to also claim the title of Judgment Queen. This was a very apt topic today, Moen, because I spent that 25 minutes in constant self-judgment. I had one topic that I just sat on for probably half, and then I got tired of that, and then I found something else to judge myself on, and kept reminding myself to come back to my practice. And eventually the self-judgment loosened up, but I spent most of that session on one topic of self-judgment, and then I got tired of that, and then I went to another. Anybody want to compete with that?
So for years, I took dialectical behavioral therapy, which was like a way to increase skill sets and all this other fun stuff. But they taught us about judgments and how they said that there's good judgments and there's bad judgments, but judgments are opinions of oneself, of one others, but they're just opinions. And the good judgments they talked about was like, oh, like, let's say you open your fridge and you see like food that's been sitting there for like weeks, and you're just like, I don't know if I should eat that or not, you know? But, you know, judgments in it themselves, and it's interesting because like when I started doing meditation practice like very, very heavily and realized that like I needed to go to temple, I was at the Garden of 1,000 Buddhas in Montana, and I was sitting underneath the big statue of Buddha. I was meditating, and all these swallows came out of their nests. And I realized that at that moment that my thoughts, my judgments, my opinions of the self and of others, they're just birds overhead. And it's so interesting that you say that they're clouds or they're, you know, mountains, they're all this stuff. I felt that even before stepping foot into this temple. So they're just birds overhead.
Well, my question is for you, how do you do that? How do you let go of the very honest how do you release it? I don't think I can.
Do you want to take this question? It's for us. I will try. The question was, how do we do that? How do we let go of self-judgment? I will try to say the teaching is to come back to the practice and to come back to my body. I just do it over and over again, and eventually it loosens, but it's a practice. Practice makes practice. Only answer.
Hello. I would say the way I do it is speaking whatever the judgment is about myself or about another person out loud to someone else and getting another perspective. Sometimes we're so deeply emotional in our judgments that it's really hard to think logically. Emotion and logic often are not well paired. If you can kind of logic something out or find evidence that your judgment is not true, and then just keep doing that, sometimes that helps to loosen the grip of the judgment. Just keep coming back to, if you believe that the judgments are going to cause you suffering or cause other people suffering, you can just start there and just deepen that belief. If you act on judgments and you see suffering, you know, that's more evidence. So look for evidence. I'm a true crime fan, so I often find myself in judgment of others because I love true crime. I love watching how people work out their lives in good ways and bad ways. So sometimes I will turn to logic and try to lessen the grip of emotion, and that seems to help me.
Good morning. So one thing that I have found helpful when I'm stuck, and this is not my wisdom, this is the wisdom of others, but I put it into practice and it has dramatically changed stuckness. Changing vocabulary really helps. And simple things like I used to use the word should an awful lot. And then someone said to me, you know, should is really just could, but without the courage. So I stopped saying should, and every time I wanted to say should, I would say could, and things changed. And then another word, the word but. Every time the word but came to my head, I would just change it to and that made a huge difference. So what I was thinking about, I'm so happy you brought up evidence. I teach second grade, and I hear ew, yuck a lot. And so I've been saying to my 7 and 8-year-olds, no, scientists don't say yuck. Scientists say, I'm curious about that. And I've found that if I just introduce the word curious, are you curious about that? That takes away a whole bunch of judgment right away from the get. Thank you.
Tom's on,
Right now.
right next door.
Thank you. Hi, Sandra. So something that came up for me is that I used to have a pattern of judging myself for the thoughts that would come up and patterns, thoughts in my mind, and I would have a negative reaction. So oh, Katie, dang, why did you do that? Why are you thinking that? So in a way to try to change that for myself, I greet the thought or the pattern of behavior with compassion. And I even say out loud, in front of my children, my family, thank you for informing me. Yeah, I think it made me think of my meditation practice as well. If I have trouble sitting with myself and accepting myself and loving myself, that's a sign that I need to treat myself with more compassion and loving kindness. So kind of the same process for changing the way that I'm thinking or judging myself or others. Yeah.
When I make a judgment, I always ask 3 questions. Is it true? Is it necessary and kind? It is true because it's your perception, your truth, your reality. Then the question is it necessary? Maybe at that point in time you're angry, it was necessary. But then was it kind is the 3rd judgment. You think about yourself. Did I make that judgment in a neutral way? Was it out of spite? Was it out of wanting and wishing? So to make situations and people's making these judgments, I would always ask, is it true, necessary, or is it kind?
Good morning. You know, my opinion was what she said earlier. Everything is seen in the practice. My teacher told me once we begin to practice, we can move obscurities of the mind, which is judgments, opinion, views, and concepts. They're like, as my own said, they're like clouds that obscure the clarity of my mind and the purity of my own heart. So I learned to see it as it is. My greatest judgment is when my 2 small grandchildren come over. I have to keep the environment safe, make sure they don't eat all the candy and the cookies and ice cream. I got to take away at a particular time their little tablets, but they'll watch them all night long. So I have to make a judgment for their better health and not to hear my son when he come back and pick them up. But my judgment today, my own, is that I got to be at the airport at 6:50 to pick up my wife. She's been gone for 10 days on a Caribbean cruise with her sisters, right? And I know that my trip to paradise is coming to an end. The reality is, if I'm not there at 6:50, my Lord, I need to meditate on that. So, yeah, I see judgments as they are. As my teacher told me, learn to become the witness to your own thoughts. And that happens only through the practice of meditation. Thank you.
Hi, how's it going? I liked what you said about feeling the judgments loosen through practice. I like the word loosen. At least in my experience, it's not like I get rid of them. They just kind of soften up and get less sticky. They don't hang on to me as tight, or maybe for not as long when I'm keeping up a good practice like that. And yeah, keeping my expectations realistic like that. Helps me to not judge my judgments, right? Because it can get to be kind of a catch-22. If I expect perfection, it's just going to make the problem worse. It's progress, not perfection. The judgments will soften if I ask myself nicely, may I loosen my grip on that a little bit, please, and come back to the breath. Try to keep up with meditation. Yeah, that's all I got on that.
I think I finally have an answer to your
Not my question.
Yeah, I just put that question. Right? And it's a one that we all heard, we all hear continuously in our teachings. It's letting it go. And for the longest time, I thought like letting it go meant like throwing it away or just like casting it off. But sometimes when we let things go, we want to reel it back in. I think of like judgments now, or self-judgments in particular, as like, if you ever seen a flag and it's like slowly like almost disintegrating in the wind, you like let those little cords just naturally frail away. You don't need to cut them off drastically or dramatically. You don't need to take a shear and cut right through them. You just let them go. And I know it's easier said than done, but you come to a point where it just naturally happens. And I think that like working and practicing meditation, like our friends say over there, it helps that loosening of the thought, and the loosening of the opinion, the loosening of the judgment in it itself. So it'll naturally happen.
Hello, I'm a new participant with your group, and I really appreciate you all. And I'm also new to meditation practice. But one thing that comes to mind for me is forgiveness, as building that in to forgive others so that you can let go of the stickiness of judging them, and then how it comes back onto your own judgment of yourself. So forgiveness of others so that you can forgive yourself. Anyways, thank you.
One more thing. To my friend down there on the end. As it also says in the Dharma Park, the Buddha says, hold nothing and hold back nothing. My teacher told me years ago, he said, young child, I want you to learn to live your life like a cup. And I said, what the heck that's supposed to mean? He said, a cup. He brought a cup into the meditation hall. He said, a cup sits open and empty, silent and still. He said, you can put milk, juice, pop, coffee, tea into a cup. He said, the content changed, but the nature of the cup stays the same. He said, events and circumstances change in our daily life, but our humanity and our own human decency always stay the same. Thank you.
So as always, I'm really nourished by the wisdom that all of you offer. So thank you so much for participating in this discussion this morning. Let's say together the 4 great Bodhisattva vows, and then we'll have some announcements. All beings, one body.
All beings, one body.
I vow to liberate.
I vow to liberate.
Blind passions, one root.
Blind passions, one root.
I vow to terminate.
I vow to terminate.
Dharma gates, one mind.
Dharma gates, one mind.
I vow to penetrate.
I vow to penetrate.
The great way of Buddha.
The great way of Buddha.
I vow to realize.
I vow to realize.
Good morning, Dharma brothers and sisters.
Good morning.
It's good to see you today. Some people are here for the first time, and we have some good friends who we haven't seen in a while that are back today too. So welcome back. And please come and introduce yourself after the service. We'll be in the foyer serving tea. We have a wide variety of temple programming this spring. We have an event sign-up table in the entrance hall where you can sign up if you're interested in any of the offerings. And our programming includes a 5-day retreat. We have one of these every season. So this is a Youngman Junction, and you might consider setting aside some time in your life for deepening and maturing your meditation practice. If you've gone to a 1-day meditation before, this is a 5-day meditation. This retreat begins at 7 p.m. on April 2nd, which is a Wednesday, and ends at 9 p.m. on April 6th. 9 a.m. on April 6th, yeah. Schedule includes sitting and walking meditation, manual work practice, Dharma talks, rest periods, and delicious vegetarian meals. We have a class being offered by Chijong Clifford Brown, which is titled Entering the Stream. And this class will cover the basics of Buddhism, the life of the Buddha, basic teachings, and the development of the various schools of Buddhism. And that meets from 7 to 8:30 p.m. for 4 Tuesdays, beginning April 8th. If you picked up one of the printed flyers, there's a misprint on the flyer where it says it was on Thursdays. But the dates that are listed are correct, and Tuesdays is correct. So you can indicate your interest by adding your name to the sign-up sheet that's in the entrance hall for Tuesdays beginning April 8th. And the 4 p.m. services are going to take a hiatus. We were originally going to say there's a 4 p.m. service today, but actually last week was the last 4 p.m. service for a while. That was the third Sunday of the month. And so we will make an announcement when it returns. So when you hear from us, we'll be resuming the 4 p.m. services again. Our family service is offered on the second Sunday of each month from 9:45 to 11:30 a.m. And during the family service, we have the kids with us for the first 20 minutes or so, and then the kids have guided activities, and the adults continue here in meditation practice and regular service. So please let your friends and family know about the special monthly service for the cultivation of concentration, kindness, and Dharma fun. For those of you who attend Tuesday yoga, our instructor, David Black, will be away for the first 3 weeks of April, so there'll be no class while he's gone. Yoga will meet this coming week, March 25th, and then we'll be on hiatus until April 22nd. Here at the temple, we offer meditation classes on a regular basis. The introductory meditation class includes simple stretching exercises. We work with the breath, meditation postures, concentration, mindfulness practice, everything you need to know to support your own home practice. So our 5-week version of this course offers 2 hours of instruction per week on Thursday evenings, 5 consecutive Thursdays from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. Now, a class started last Thursday, but there's still time to join this week if you wish. And we offer the same instruction in a condensed overnight format, which runs on a Friday evening at 7 p.m. and goes through noon on Saturday. This version includes an overnight stay and breakfast at the temple, and our next overnight meditation class for that is April 25th through 26th. Joe Young has an announcement about Together Action today. Joe Young, yes.
Actually, welcome up. If you can grab the,
Yeah.
the lantern, maybe a petal.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jo Young. I'm a visiting practitioner at the temple, and I'm inviting you. Sorry, I'm in the camera's way.
No, we can't see you.
Oh,
Now we
that's
can.
okay. So I'm inviting you today to participate, if you wish, in a tradition actually that goes back most likely hundreds of years. As you know, that this is our tradition is Korean based. So there is a practice of making lanterns for Buddha's birthday. And this lantern that Magamak is holding, we've actually started refurbishing lanterns. So instead of, we make them fresh, but there are old ones that we've refurbished. So someone has been working on this. And this, as you can see, it's quite beautiful. So we have some freshness here. We have a little bit of old petals in there. I guess there's an aspect of impermanence and change and acceptance that we're speaking about today. So I'm inviting anyone who'd like to participate in this wonderful tradition to come to the Sangha house, which is across the way, and for 30 minutes, join us in making lanterns. Thank you very much.
It's fun.
Absolutely. Oh, there'll be tea as well.
Oh, there's that catch. I know. I know.
Let's see. So the temple is entirely supported by your generous donations of time and money. There is a fishbowl for monetary donations right outside the door here. And for volunteering your time, every Saturday from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m., we offer opportunities to perform work practice aimed at helping us maintain our temple buildings and grounds. We consider hands-on work to be a vital aspect of our Buddhist practice. As we care for the temple, we care for ourselves. And one thing that we can do right now as we get up to leave is to prepare this room for the later activities that'll be going on by moving mats and cushions. And so the mats and cushions that are in the middle rows, the ones that are touching the red carpet, those will remain, but the ones in the far row on this side will go up onto the platform. And then these two rows over here will go into that back corner. The mats get stacked neatly and the cushions go on the shelf. So please help to do that as you leave today. And we look forward to talking with you as we serve tea.
And Recovery Dharma will meet from noon to 1 in the historic Buddha Hall, the big yellow house right next door.
Recovery Dharma will meet from noon to 1 in the historic temple, the yellow house next door. Thank you.
Okay, so let's all stand. And then facing the altar, we'll end with 3 formal bows.
Cut off. Distribution system trying to get in my neighbor's cat. And trying to keep it. This part of the house, just like he put a collar on it, and wrote a note and taped it to the collar and put and let it loose. And it went home like half an hour later. This lady texted me, yeah, that's my cat. We were like, darn, we already had a name for him. So I had to go get your. So we talked to I just realized, like, I want to go back and read all the comments of the YouTube videos. I've never gone into the chat to read the comments to see what bonus game is in here. Sometimes I tune in at home and I chat. Since you guys in the same one, I think I was okay. So it's been since. So that'd be 2004. Oh my gosh. Years.
Are you 91?
Yeah.
I'm 90.
Oh, cute. Still made in the 1900s. Yeah, this was so prideful. I said, like, I'd be like, talk to this snowman from the 1900s. That made me feel such pride. Really gonna really last one.
This is the deep one.
And this is the little one.
Yeah.
They stay
Ball.
at this
Singing balls.